Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Um, Today I'm going to be assembling a HatchingTime Quail cage, and I opened the box already and I kind of did a little bit of assembly, but I left enough that I can still show you everything. So I'm finishing up my very first year with quail. Had him for about a year now, and I built my first quail cage, and it was okay. There's other modifications I would definitely do to it. But I moved my quail outside before winter. It was a wooden quail cage, and one of the big problems I had with it is, so where I live, we get a lot of snow, and it gets pretty cold. So we just got 33 inches of snow over the last 3 days. So kind of battling with snow, I decided I want to keep them back indoors. I'm going to keep them in my garage again. But with the cold weather, the snow, things changing to rain, the wood, there's a lot of swelling and shrinking. Then doors end up getting tight, and it's kind of a hassle. And I wanted to try the HatchingTime quail cages just for sanitary reasons. The design is nice, it's compact, it's clean, it's easy, and it is small. This is a 3-layer or a 3-section of a layer for the quail cage. There's the front door with the egg rollouts. This is the bottom. The bottom appears to be about 1/2 by 1 for an opening. Maybe 3/4 by 1-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it should allow ease for droppings. And the center dividers also, I don't know if you can see them in there, but they're in the middle, they're open, so the quails can actually run through the entire section now. I believe they used to be closed, but that was one of the modifications that they made that I really liked. So I already have 2 of these put together. I've got one more. It's a 3-layer one. So we'll put the one together and we'll go through the entire assembly so you guys can see how to assemble it here. I have heard some mixed reviews that the assembly is a little difficult. The instructions aren't that great. So I'm going to try to make this video as user-friendly as possible so you guys can see kind of all the steps of how to put everything together, and in case there's any questions. So I'm going to set this down and grab the rest of the parts. Okay, so I'm going to use my freezers here for a workstation. And the very first thing that I did was I grabbed a bottom piece because it was easy to identify. It's got the tray. Then we have our end pieces. One with a door, one without. So we assemble these. There is, actually, I'm sorry, I started with the top. So we're going to start with the top. It's about 1.5 by 1 foot roughly. On this, there are some little arrows on these prongs, and that lets you know that this is the outer surface where these arrows are. Same thing with these pieces. There's an arrow right here to show you that these are the outer sides. And that little notch goes in with that little tab. So we push them together. These do go together a little tough. And after you put a bunch of them together, your hands will start to hurt. And I just use the heel of my hand to push them together. And then this piece is together. You can kind of see how that fits, and they pop into place. So here's your top and your front door. Now we'll do the back panel. Same thing, the little arrows are out here. Match them with the top arrows on this, and we just push the little slot over the tab. Then you have the front and the back on. Now we use the bottom tray. Same thing, the arrows are on the outside of the tray. You can see the bottom lip. So that way we know this is the bottom here. Same thing, push these slots on these tabs. And it says you can use a hammer to tap these on. It's really, really cold out here, so I'm trying not to do that. I don't want anything to break. So now we have the 3 sections here. This front panel has these 2 little holes and these loops, and the bottom has a little spot here and here that we put these on, and we slide them down. So we put them on the 2 that are facing the back wall and not the front wall. I don't know if you can see them that well here. Oh, there we go. So they just slide right on there. So then you put 3 of these together, just like this. We'll get through that step. I'll do the other 3 real quick, and then I'll show you the next step. All right. So we have our 3 sections put together. Now we're going to put the end pieces on them. So it comes with 2 different middle sections. You have this one that's completely solid. And you have this one that the middle pops out of. Just like that. And you can save these, so if you want to separate everybody, you can do that. So we're going to need 1 solid piece and 1 open piece for this. I'm going to put on the end piece first, and these have holes all the way around them, you can see. And then these end pieces have tabs all the way around them. So these basically just fit onto that. This spot, you do want to use a hammer. So you line these up. And you just start working from one end and you tap these on. And then you have your end piece on. And you can see those little prongs inside of those little holes there. And then you stack these on each other so you have these alternating holes that don't have anything in them. That's where the next section will fit onto. But so this is the solid piece, so this is going to be our end. So now on this end, we want to use a middle section with the opening, because I'm going to let everybody kind of go back and forth. And then the same thing, you line everything up, and then you just kind of tap it into place with your hammer. Now we have a completed section, and then these just kind of telescope onto each other. So your next section, same thing. We're just going to put it onto this one. These tabs will line up in those openings like I showed you. I'm just going to kind of tap it lightly to start it. Then we'll grab our next middle section. We'll pop this off. And then we will put this on here as well. And then we can hit on this surface to help drive this bottom part on. These aren't lining up that well. You have to kind of get them started. There we go. Right. And we have one more. And this is going to be the solid end piece here. Okay, so this little front panel here, this front wall kind of bowed forward, so that's one thing you got to watch out for, is making sure these don't misalign. There we go. Get it back in there. And that is an assembled section. That is a fully assembled section of the HatchingTime Quail cage. So, let's move on to the next step. Alright, so these instructions, they talk about step 1 through 4. That's what we just completed. We put the little individual sections together. Steps 5 and 6, we're going to be putting the black legs on and then inserting the water lines. So for this, we're going to be inserting the, putting the leg on and then inserting the drywall screw. And it's showing a metal rod down there, but I don't think I have one. Let me just look in the box real quick. I lied. There's a whole bunch of aluminum rods that came with it. So these aluminum rods are going to go through the 4 corners. When we say these 4 corners, these larger holes here, 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 and down here. So I'm going to go ahead and put those through now. Okay, so we got 4 aluminum rods through there. I'm going to grab my drill. And then according to those instructions, everywhere there's a rod, that's where we're going to insert the drywall screw holders and the legs. So the instructions show the large opening facing out, the small opening facing towards the cage. Then I'm going to flip this over because it's technically upside down. And I'm going to hold the aluminum from the other side and push a little bit just to get that going. Let's go ahead and get this one pushed in so everything's aligned. Start this screw. Ow. I'm going to use some channel locks to hold it in place. There we go. Then we will do the same thing on this side. Larger hole out. Push these little drywall holders through. I use the screw in there to push them through because you're going to put that screw in there anyway and screw it into that. And you can use that screw to push it in there. Do the same thing here. Put the screw on the drywall holder and push it through that pipe. That holds everything in place nicely. Then you can go ahead, hold that aluminum pipe with your hand and slowly screw it in. Then this lower one again, I'm going to use the channel locks because it doesn't want to hold real well. So then we have the legs on the one side, then we'll flip it over and do the legs on the other side. All right, we've completed putting the legs and the aluminum rods through all three sections. Next is the water lines. This is showing running the water lines through and putting these brackets on. So I will get those pieces now. Okay, so next thing we do is we mount on the water lines. So there are 3 nipples, little drinking nipples. And then there's going to be brackets with a little drip cup here. That will hold the water. So these basically are just going to slide on here or clip on. There's a valve on, or a T on this end that the hose connects to. So per the instructions, right here in the back, we're going to slide it. There's one panel here that has an opening. Let me see if you can see this. Right in here, there's an opening, and that's going to allow this nipple to slide through there when we push it through. Go a little bit more. Push it back just a smidge. All right, so the end of the water line is just barely sticking through there. We have our valve here that we can connect to. And then that holds the water line up in the back. Let me open that door. Holds it up in there, and then there's a little nipple in the middle of each section. So if you close it off, everybody has some water. Next thing, we put on these little drip cups, and we just push them on. So we're going to open all the doors. And then these will just snap on into place. However, they show them in the instructions going a different direction. So, just note the instructions show them facing this way, but, well, I guess we could snap them from the back, maybe. I don't know, I think that's going to be too difficult, so we're going to just snap them from the front. One thing I am concerned about, these are very cold, and I'm concerned they're going to snap, so I'm going to put them in my sweatshirt and kind of warm them up for a little bit. And when you put these on, there's a little slot here. The nipple goes right in the middle there, so then it drips down and then they can drink out of it. I'm actually going to use a torch and I'm going to warm these up. Because I don't trust that these aren't going to snap. Okay, one is on. It seemed kind of high. We'll see. Maybe that's a good thing. Keep them from jumping in it, I guess. But they seem a little high. But I'm going to warm all these up. Warming those up actually helped tremendously. There, you can see the little cups up there and the little nipples. And there's one on each section. Again, I do recommend warming those up so they don't break. There are no extras, so if you snap it, you're out of luck. And I'm just going to go through and do the same exact thing for the rest of them. Alright, so that was the last of the watering cups. Moving on to step 7. So now for step 7, we are going to so we're going to put on the bottom support, the casters on the bottom, and then the top support here. And then we're going to stack everything up. then we will connect the water lines. Next, we just stack everything on it. All right, so next, put the top on. Now we're going to put our hoses on and our water. Now here's something fun. So you pay $500 for a piece of equipment, and just out of the box, 2 cracks, and they both go all the way through. So I will have to get another tub. I'm guessing this one is maybe where's the opening? Oh yeah, this one is made to fit, so that's fun. What I will do is, I guess there's some silicone over that before I fill it. I have an elbow that goes in there. This unscrews. We'll put it through and screw it on. I'm going to put the washer on the inside of this because that's where the water is. And then when you screw this elbow on to this tub, there's a pre-drilled hole. You start it and then you can screw it in. And then it goes downward like that. And then I'll put the washer on the inside, and then I'll screw the nut back on. I probably will reach out to HatchingTime, let them know about this tub, that it's cracked, and try to get a new one. Just because it does look like it's made to fit, so it doesn't slide off. It's got little tabs on the bottom that fit into this. So, again, I feel like when you buy something for $500, it, you know, should be intact. Then we're going to slide this small cut piece of tubing onto here, twist it on, Again, this tubing is cold, so it's not going on as easy. Just keep twisting it, it'll get there. I'm gonna wet the inside of that one so it goes on a little better. And I am gonna warm it up a smidge. Okay, so after putting a few of these hoses on, I have found, again, like I said, it is cold out, so these are a little stiff. But I found that kind of plugging one end and blowing into the other end, it warms it up and it kind of lubricates the inside with the humidity from my air, and they push on a lot easier. So I've been blowing into these, warming them up and kind of lubricating them, and again, they slide on much easier. Okay, so I haven't really done anything yet. I just kind of was basically looking at it. So there's some tabs on here. There's a ledge here and these little tabs, and they run all the way down through. So you just angle this in and then let it sit down. That kind of pretty much holds everything into place, but there's some other parts here that go on it. And we'll see what we do with these. Have a little lip and some notches, and I believe these go on this. Those lips just kind of marry up to these feeders and then push on like that. And then I think it just holds it tighter and holds it in place. Yes. So you can see it kind of is just held in place there in those notches, and it holds it a lot tighter. There's no wiggle after you do that. So we'll go through and do that to the rest. The other last thing that we have to do is put in the little feed guards. Alright, so there's these little green pieces that come with this. They have holes, and there's a tab. Tab goes up, and these slide in. And then the next one slides in. They alternate in sides. There's two wide ones, two narrow ones, and they alternate so you can marry it up. The hole is not totally drilled through. That's happened a couple times. The holes aren't totally cleaned out, so you just have to watch for that and clean them out. put the next one on. So there'll be 3 of these orange sections together to make one. There you go. And then they have these tabs on top. So you can actually just grab the tabs and pick them up and pull them out. And these sit down in here. These are basically just a feed guard to keep them from digging and flopping food out. So those just sit down in there like that. I will finish that up. All right, so that is all there is to it. Now all we would have to do is fill the water tank up. Like I said, I am gonna have to put some silicone in there to seal that off, let it dry. I'll do that, let it dry, fill it up, and then it's ready. It's ready to use. I live in a very, very cold climate. Like I said, my garage is not heated. I'm sure you can see my breath through a lot of this video. I have a couple modifications I'm going to do to this before I have my quail in it, just to prevent the water from freezing. Other than that, though, we'll be ready to test it out. I hope this video helped you guys. If you have any assembly questions, the instructions, they're not that great. It's one page front and back visual. You can put it together. You just really have to pay attention. Some of the biggest things are making sure you don't use the end panels for the middle panels. And then I guess these little green clips that hold these feeders in place, that was one of the other things that was kind of different. Other than that, though, it's not too bad. I'm gonna say this probably took me maybe 2 hours to put together, somewhere in that realm, from start to finish. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And like I said, I hope this video helped you guys. Have a good one.